So the last two episodes, we went over what it's like fishing in Canada for both big smallmouth and walleyes, all the great opportunities that are north of the border. So in this episode, we're gonna kind of wrap up our third day with a little bit of filling the freezer, so to speak, as we went out chasing perch and other species, and because fishing in Canada is a bucket list for a lot of US residents. What is it like to go there and fish? What do you need? What do you need to know? We're gonna run you down a full list of everything from getting in, getting out, and if you're gonna do it by yourself, what kind of gear you should bring with you. Hey, what's going on? My name is Sean Ritter. Welcome to the channel. As I mentioned, we are fishing in Canada. Ballards Black Island is where I have gone and stayed for many, many years, and of course, chance for you to go and stay there as well. This is an all-inclusive fishing resort on Lake of the Woods in Ontario, Canada. So you basically show up at a dock, they pick you up, boat you to an island, you live on an island, guides take you out every day, you catch fish, meals, beverages, it is all included there. Got a link below if you want to check out more info on Ballards Black Island. But if you wanted to go fishing in Canada yourself, what is it going to take? What can you bring with you? What should you bring with you? And how do you get back into the country? We're going to get you all that info coming up here in just a bit. But first, I want to wrap up day 3 as we went back out on Lake of the Woods and decided we're going to do something different. We've already caught a bunch of smallmouth. We've caught a bunch of walleyes. Let's fill the freezer and target a species that not a lot of people do think of when you think of Canadian fishing, and that's yellow perch. Very popular in Wisconsin, where I'm from. Every Friday night, fish fries, perch is like a big thing. So we thought, let's go fill the freezers on some perch, fishing some deep reefs, and using a technique that I've used in a previous episode, one of my favorites, the drop shot.
And the number one reason why I love the drop shot rig is that if you get snagged and broke off, you don't have to retie everything, just put on a new weight. And you're back to fishing. Yeah, it is. I made sure he was set.
Pull the grab.
I did. He's a walleye.
Yeah. Good.
Look at that. Hot shot. Right here in the skin side of the mouth. Pliers. Back at it. Ready? Jumbo.
Big perch.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that
Jumbo.
bad boy. Now we're
Ow! Trying to grab the damn thing and it jumped and put my hook right into my finger. He was not getting off.
throw him in. Just throw him in the cooler.
Jeepers, that was an absolute disaster.
Did it get you in the finger?
Yeah,
Yeah.
hooked me right in the finger. The stab right there, it's got too much slime on it, but I, as you see me, I took my teeth and I grabbed the hook and I just ripped it out.
Come out quick. Throw them in reverse, is that what you did?
Yeah. Mistakes. I got it, Tasker. You can keep fishing.
Oh, yeah, baby. White down here. Got it? Been one there.
Yep.
Years. 17. Torpedo.
So we had a pretty good day. Caught a bunch of perch, obviously walleyes. Didn't really fish smallmouth too much that last day. We had a lot of smallmouth fishing the previous 2 days. If you want to check out those 2 previous episodes where we were doing a lot of fishing in Canada, you can check those out right here. Link is also posted down below for you. But if you're looking to travel to Canada yourself, what does it take? Like basically, what are the important tips, tricks, and things you need to know before going to Canada? Some of this applies whether you're going to stay at a resort that's going to take care of a lot of things, much like I did, or you're going to go do a solo trip yourself. Fly and they drop you off, or you bring your own boat, or whatever it may be. Obviously, first thing you're going to need is a passport. So either a passport book or a passport card is what you need depending on whether you're flying or you're driving into Canada. As far as what to bring with you. Now, this applies to whether you are staying at a resort or not. Food, groceries, you can bring snacks, even if it's an all-inclusive type thing. I mean, you still may want snacks and things while you're on the boat, which may not be something of the package, so bring your own stuff. As long as it's within reason of the time you're staying there, they won't flag it all at the gate. However, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, those tend to be big issues. Firearms, I would just say don't. I mean, unless you're going on a hunting trip and there's a whole other situation, set of rules and things you have to fill out with that. Again, check with the province that you're going, their rules and information on that as far as transferring in. I can tell you as far as liquor. Now, that's one thing that's not included a lot of times with the resorts. Obviously, liquor's taxed much differently in Canada than it is in the U.S., and things are looked at a little bit differently at the border there too. So I can tell you, you can bring 1.5 liters of wine or a liter of liquor or 24 12-ounce cans or bottles of beer. Anything over that, you'll have to pay the excise tax on it. Now, say you have 2 people traveling with you, then one person can bring a liter of something, and the other person can bring, 24 cans or bottles of beer, or one person can bring a bottle of any combination of this. So one person, your allowance is that 1.5 liters of wine, 1 liter of liquor, and 24 cans or bottles of beer. Tobacco, you've got 200 cigarettes or 50 cigars, or 7 ounces of loose tobacco. So if you're someone that smokes like a pipe tobacco. Now the problem becomes at the Canadian border when you first get there. They look at different laws differently than we do in the United States. So for instance, a DUI may not be considered a felony in the United States, it's a felony in Canada. And with a felony, you're not allowed entrance into the country. So be aware of that. However, you can get in if you have had a DUI. There's 2 different ways you could do it. You can apply for what they call is a granted rehabilitation. So basically you have someone at the gate take a look at your records and they kind of make a determination. It's $200 non-refundable fee. So you could pay the fee, they could look at your records, things, they'll go, yeah, no, still not going to give it to you, and you're not getting in the country. The other way is if it's been 10 years since your previous conviction, you've had no other crimes or anything's happened since then, a lot of times you can get a deemed rehabilitation, as they call it, where they'll just kind of waive it and mark you that, okay, it's been 10 years, it's sort of off your record, and allow you admittance in Canada. There's no fee with that one. So kind of think of it on like 10 years, if you've had something like a DUI, sometime in that window, you may not be able to get into the country. So just something to think about if traveling to Canada. All right, now let's talk the most important thing. Whether you're fishing in Canada, Mexico, wherever you are, fishing license. That's number one. You're gonna need to make sure that you have and acquire a fishing license. Now, you can get a lot of these online ahead of time, whatever province you're traveling to. Again, us, Lake of the Woods, we're going to Ontario, so we're going to their province's natural resources and getting a license there. You can also get them a lot of times at local retailers. There's bait shops, there's marinas and things that will sell you licenses. There's 2 different licenses, I can tell you, for Ontario. There's a sport and a conservation. The limits on what you can catch per day and what you can possess and bring back are different based on those 2 licenses, so make sure to look out for the differences in those. Again, all that info is going to be posted at whatever province you're traveling to. Their Department of Natural Resources website can get you all the information. When should you think about traveling to somewhere like Canada to go fish? A lot of the seasons change. Obviously, they have ice till much, much later, which is why a lot of times their open season, which is when, their species like walleye and stuff doesn't open up until about the 3rd weekend in May. If you plan that you want to go fish things like muskies, those open up later on in the year. All right, so you want to keep an eye on things. Lake trout, again, is a different season as well. I would say anytime between the months of June and September are going to be your key prime time fishing anywhere in Canada. Now let's talk gear. I know we did the all-inclusive thing with Ballards, and if you're doing a guided thing, obviously they're going to have all the equipment. They've got everything that you need. But if you're doing it yourself and bringing your own stuff, I would recommend kind of trying to stay light. You don't want to be bringing 17 rods. I mean, it's not like you're going out to win the Bassmaster Classic, all right? I would say anything from a 6.5 to 7.5 foot medium heavy spinning gear with like a 3000 series reel would be absolutely perfect and fine for just about any species, rig it with like 30-pound braid, and just bring some 10 to 12-pound fluorocarbon for leader material. I've caught muskies on that. I've caught pike on that. I've caught every species that's in Lake of the Woods where I've been fishing on that. So that would be my recommendation. Maybe bring 1-2 rods. You're all set to go to catch any species while you're in Canada. As far as baits and whatnot, well, that's when things kind of get interesting. Some of the hottest baits for me, and I know it can work across all provinces, obviously crankbaits. Tends to be a lot of things in kind of the chartreuse whites or like clown colors are kind of some popular things. Jointed, you know, things like Rapalas, even Berkeley flicker shads. Fantastic walleye bait. These things are really a way that you could cast them or you control them. Really work well, either kind of shad pattern, again, kind of looking at some of that chartreuse type colors. One of my favorites, the OG Slim from Rapala. That thing has been phenomenal all the time. You think muskies, pike, obviously you're going to go big spinner baits, marabou, things like that. Any kind of spinners, obviously very popular fishing in Canada with all the pike and the muskie opportunities there. Some of my biggest and hottest baits, actually, I mean, I would say if you're going to bring 2 things, white spinner bait with either some sort of white trailer or like a chartreuse trailer, and literally like just jig heads, plain gold, or go with, I mean, you see this was kind of beat up, that orange and chartreuse, any kind of twister tail. This has got kind of like a little swim bait tail. This actually was one that was used up there. It came off of somebody's rods and dropped into my box. We're up there, so sorry we stole a jig from you, Ballards, but that's one of the gigs. White spinnerbait though, silver blades, white, like I said, this thing will catch everything. I've legitimately went out in a day, not with a spinnerbait though, but with a swim jig. White swim jig with a chartreuse paddle tail on it. I actually spent 5 days fishing up in Canada one time and used that exact same jig. It was just beat up. I still have the jig laying somewhere. I don't know where it didn't make it on the wall here in the shop, but it was just beat up and just destroyed. But that thing caught. I mean, swim jig, because you can fish it down, you can fish it on the top, you can fish it through vegetation really well. That's a bait that I think a lot of people don't think of, that I think is hot up there. Swim jig, chatterbait you can do a little bit too, but I think swim jig is a little more versatile for things. And buzzbait. I mean, I've caught a lot doing top water, just fishing the buzzbait. I like just doing kind of like a paddle tail or, you know, the appendages craw type thing on a buzzbait. Another fantastic bait. So you don't have to take a whole lot of stuff. You kind of stay within the wheelhouse there. Jigs, I mean, you're going to jig the on walleyes and stuff. That's probably the most popular to take with you. One other thing to note along the lines of bait, most provinces, you cannot bring live bait into Canada. So it's going to be all artificial, or you're going to have to acquire bait when you're there. A lot of the resorts I know use dead shiner minnows, which I can tell you in Lake of the Woods, nothing will outfish a dead shiner minnow. For some reason, it works. So again, no live bait if you're transferring to Canada. Don't bring it with you if they're not going to let it at the border. So let's talk transportation, and I mean on the way back after you've done your fishing. You're obviously going to want to make sure you're within your limits, whatever your license has for whatever province that you're traveling to sets, but also if it's something you're cleaning fish yourself, there's always the rule that you have to leave a portion of the skin for identifying what species of fish that is on the fish. A lot of resorts, when they're cleaning your fish for you, they'll do that for you, which is always fantastic, which I would say, especially first time traveling to go fish in Canada, whether you're flying or driving, you can have the opportunity to book with, you know, one of the resorts. Anytime you travel, I even say if you're going, you know, somewhere you're going to fish saltwater, say, you know, you're from the north like I am, and you're going to the East Coast or Florida, whatever, book with a guide your first day before going on your own. You're always going to learn things and kind of get a better lay of the land than just kind of being out there clueless. So make sure you're, again, within rules. That's probably just number one rule all the time. Make sure you got your license, make sure you got your passport, and make sure if you're transporting fish, you're within the rules, because they're going to check you at the border whether you're driving or flying back. Hopefully this information helped you out. If you liked it, you know, it would be great if you give the channel a subscribe. It really does help out with things, or at least pop the video a like to let me know that you do like the video and find it interesting, because on the next video, actually going to kind of break it down, not fishing in Canada, but let's say you're a person like me, U.S. resident, and you're flying to another country, somewhere in the Caribbean, and you want to do some saltwater fishing. How do you go about that? What gear do you bring? What do you need to know? And how can you be legal fishing in a different country? I'll break it down, as I just actually went to Cabo San Lucas recently and did some surf fishing from the beach there, and show you all the gear that I brought with me for yourself to bring the gear and be able to do it without having to, you know, pay for a charter boat if you just want a couple hours in the morning or an afternoon to get out and fish yourself. So again, pop it a like, give it a subscribe so that way you don't miss that video if you wanted more info on that. Or you can check out the rest of the videos when we're fishing in Canada right up here. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.
The jig. Oh, there he is. Lift up. He's burying himself in the weeds. hooked up again. Nice little guy.